Hello, dear parents. Thank you for joining us again for another edition. The last edition we spoke about sibling rivalry and the need to be conscious and careful as parents not to sow that seed of discord between our children. Today we are moving on to child abuse. Child abuse. Now, when we say child abuse, our mind readily goes to sexual abuse. But that is not the only form of abuse. Abuse generally is maltreatment, any form of maltreatment of a child. Okay, so there are 4 types of abuse. Number 1, physical. Number 2, emotional. Number 3, sexual. And then number 4, neglect. We have dealt with neglect in our last 2 episodes. So we want to talk about physical, emotional, and sexual abuse in this edition. Now, physical abuse is any form of punishment that is severe or beating that is beyond mild. Severe beating or punishment, that is physical abuse. Then emotional abuse is when we say harsh things to children or abuse them, by saying bad words, by cursing, by doing anything that will make a child unhappy. Okay? Then sexual abuse is when the child is sexually molested, actual act of sex with a child, or touching the child in private places. That is sexual abuse. All these forms of abuse are common. Okay? And that is why parents need to be extremely protective of children. Why? Because children are vulnerable. They are prone to all these kinds of attacks. We must mind where we keep our children, where they visit, who we entrust them to as caregivers. Children are abused everywhere. In friends' houses, relations' homes, in schools, and even right inside our own homes. When people come to visit, cousins, nephews, children must not be left carelessly with them. Lesson teachers, drivers, washermen, all those who we believe we have a relationship with as families, they are usually the predators. So, for parents to feel comfortable to leave a child with anyone, it must be somebody that you are very, very sure that the person thinks like you, the person knows the dangers of abuse, because sometimes it might not be the person you entrusted the child to that abused the child, but if the person is not well educated about abuse, and I'm not just sexual, let us be conscious of that, emotional is there, physical is there, so the person that we entrust the children to might be careless, not thinking and not realizing that abuse could happen that way. I will give an instance. A woman was going out for a function. Then she took her 3-year-old daughter to her own elder sister. Trustworthy person. Okay? Now, there was need for the sister to quickly dash out to buy something. Not for long. So she left the girl with a house help. The house help slept off, and the washerman that came to work in the house abused the girl. That is what I mean by the secondary person caring for your child must also be educated about the dangers of abuse. There is this man, a very popular man, Chris Fowowe, who speaks about child care, child protection, and things like that as well. As a child, he was abused. Not sexually, but emotionally and physically by their houseboy. who dealt with him wickedly to the point of asking him to eat feces. That's the kind of thing that could happen to a child left to people whom you think are good people. So we cannot be too careful with who we leave our children with. We cannot be too protective of our children because predators are everywhere. They are lurking all around the place. And at the slightest opportunity, they abuse children. So, child protection is key. Consciousness of abuse is vital because abuse is beyond sexual. Emotional abuse leads to suicide. There are a lot of children who have committed suicide, and the question is, what else could they have wanted? What else didn't we do as parents? Maybe you provide for the needs, maybe you care in the way you think, the best way you know how to do. But apparently, some needs were not met in the lives of such children, and it's mostly emotional. So, sexual abuse, physical, emotional, neglect are things to be on the lookout for. A lot of parents unconsciously abuse their own children through emotional and physical abuse. And of course, we know that some people abuse their children sexually, their own children. So we need to just be aware of all these to help us, to guide us, and to make us protective of our children, to, help them and not just leave them to the mercy of predators. Child abuse happens on a daily basis. Pathetic cases. Let us guard against it. Let us be there for our children. Let us be like the mother hen, protecting physically, emotionally, psychologically, mentally, and not to neglect. Thank you so very much. See you again. Bye-bye.